The driver of a bin lorry which crashed in Glasgow killing 6 people did not report a blackout episode to a previous employer, an inquiry has heard. First Bus Inspector John Stewart said he learned of Harry Clarke's blackout from a passenger on April 7, 2010. The fatal accident inquiry at Glasgow Sheriff Court has heard Mr Clarke was unconscious when the bin lorry hit pedestrians on December 22 last year. The inquiry is examining the lorry, its route, and Mr Clarke's health. On Thursday, Mr Stewart told the second day of the FAI, which is being overseen by Sheriff John Beckett QC, that he had driven a bus back to a depot in Glasgow after its driver, Mr Clarke, had passed out at the wheel. The court heard that Mr Stewart had called an ambulance but Mr Clarke was given the all-clear by paramedics and refused to go to hospital. On Friday, the witness was cross-examined by Mr Stewart QC, representing the bereaved Sweeney and McQuaid families. Mr Stewart confirmed that the blackout incident on April 7, 2010 had not been reported by Mr Clarke. He also confirmed that Mr Clarke had driven the bus after the blackout, albeit with no passengers on board. The witness also said that Mr Clarke had not told him anything about a possible blackout in the bus depot canteen. Ronald Conway, the lawyer for the bereaved Tate family, then asked the witness about the bus blackout episode. Mr Stewart said he thought something might be seriously wrong, that's why I called the ambulance. The inquiry then heard from Philip Balderstone, a vehicle examination consultant at the Transport Research Laboratory, who produced a report on the crash lorry. Stop button. The court has already heard that the front driver section of the lorry cab and the rear crew section was separated by a metal bar. Mr. Balderstone's report noted that the vehicle had an emergency stop button for its rear machinery. This, however, was not connected to the chassis or drive of the lorry, meaning it could not stop the lorry. The court was then shown a picture of Mr. Balderstone in the vehicle cab, trying to reach the parking brake control from the rear crew section. Mr. Balderstone confirmed that he was able to reach the brake lever from the rear area and apply it reasonably easily. The court has previously heard that the 2 rear-seated crewmen on the day of the crash, Matthew Telford and Henry Toll, made no attempt to apply the brake and believed they could not reach it. Mr. Balderstone said he is 5 feet 8 in tall and could reach the parking brake comfortably. Solicitor General Leslie Thompson, Scotland's second most senior law officer, who is leading the FAI, then asked if someone who was 5 feet 3 in tall could reach the brake. This is the height that Mr. Telford gave for himself during evidence on Wednesday. Mr. Balderstone said it would be more difficult, but could not say for sure if it would be possible. Fingertip stretch. The court heard that his report recorded the brake as being 0.71 m from the top of the metal bar separating the front and rear sections of the lorry cab. Mr. Balderstone said it would be easier to reach the brake by going under the barrier, but this would be less safe. The witness also said he tried to reach the brake lever while seated, with a belt on, and this would only be possible from one seat, to the left of the driver. He said he could just reach the brake lever at fingertip stretch after several tries while sitting with the belt on. Mr. Balderstone agreed that the possibility of reaching the brake lever with a seatbelt on, while the vehicle was moving, was remote. The witness agreed that in order to reach the brake comfortably, and operate it with their hands, a passenger would need to remove their seat belt. He agreed that anyone doing this would need some training or knowledge of the brake lever in order to use it. The court previously heard that Mr. Telford and Mr. Toll were not trained to operate the front controls of the lorry cab and could not drive. Inquiry scope. The inquiry, which is expected to run for several weeks, will examine the medical background, employment record, and training of the driver, Mr. Clarke. It will also look at technical aspects of the vehicle and whether any measures could have brought it to a controlled stop, and the safety of the route taken by the vehicle given the time of day and year. Erin McQuaid, 18, her grandparents Jack Sweeney, 68, and his 69-year-old wife Lorraine, all from Dumbarton, died in the incident in the city's Queen Street and George Square. Stephanie Tate, 29, and Jacqueline Morton, 51, both from Glasgow, and Gillian Ewing, 52, from Edinburgh, were also killed when the truck mounted the pavement before crashing into the side of the Millennium Hotel. A further 10 people were injured. The Crown Office has already concluded that there will be no criminal prosecution over the crash, with senior lawyers deeming it a tragic accident.